He's just joined.
Namaskar.
Namaskar, sir.
Namaskar, sir. Namaskar.
Good morning, sir.
Morning. Go ahead.
Honorable Minister Shri Piyush Goyal ji, worthy representatives of the Embassy of the United States of America, fellow colleagues, I request the National President of the Indo-American Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Purna Chandra Rao, to please give his welcome address for the Honorable Minister. Over to you, Mr. Purna.
Thank you, Dr. Bashir. Respected Sri Piyush Goyal ji, Honorable Minister for Commerce and Industry, Government of India. Mr. Michael Rosenthal, Director, North India US Embassy. Dr. Lalit Bashir, Summit Chair and Executive Vice President of Indo-American Chamber of Commerce. Mr. Maniki Deva, Chairman, Services Export Promotion Council. Mr. Raman Roy, Regional President, Indo-American Chamber of Commerce, North India Council, and Managing Director of Quattro. Good afternoon, friends. I feel delighted and honored to be the part of second Indo-US Services Summit being organized today through the virtual platform. On behalf of ISCC, I would like to thank Shri Piyush Goyal ji, Honorable Minister for Commerce and Industry, for sparing his valuable time and in accepting our request to become chief guest for this summit. I would like to congratulate Dr. Lalit Bashir, Summit Chair, and Mr. Raman Roy, Regional President, for organizing Services Summit at an opportune time. The chosen sector for discussion in today's summits like travel and tourism, IT, ITS, and healthcare are considered to be the core for Indo-US business. And it is also important to note the importance of the manufacturing industry. Let me begin by saying a few words about Indo-American Chamber of Commerce. The Indo-American Chamber of Commerce has completed 53 years of existence and been center of focus in facilitating smooth exchange of Indo-US bilateral trade views between both the countries. IMF has projected a GDP growth rate of 9.5% for India in 21-22. There is a cut in the growth rate as compared to an earlier projection of 11.5%, which is mainly due to the setback caused by the second wave of COVID-19. The COVID-19 pandemic, subsequent lockdown, and social distancing measures have had a significant impact on the services sector. During the first half of the financial year 2021, the services sector contracted by almost 16%. Air passenger traffic, rail, freight traffic, port traffic, foreign tourist arrivals, and foreign exchange earnings all contracted sharply during the initial lockdowns, and in a way it's still continuing. In the year 2021, we can see domestic passenger air traffic is gradually increasing on a monthly basis, although travel remains muted as compared to last year. Interestingly, despite of the global disruptions, FDI inflows into the service sector increased by 34% during April-September 2020 to reach US 23.61 billion. The year 2021 witnessed many significant structural reforms. The space sector was opened up, telecom-related regulations were removed from the IT BPO sector, and consumer protection regulations were introduced for e-commerce. The tourism sector is a major engine of economic growth that contributes significantly in terms of GDP, foreign exchange earnings, and employment. However, the COVID-19 pandemic had a debilitating impact on world travel and tourism, including India. Globally, USD 935 billion was an accounted loss. India ranked 34th travel and tourism competitiveness index, improving significantly from its rank of 65 in 2013. With the ongoing vaccination drive, the tourism sector is expected to revive soon. The Indian ITS industry has been the flag bearer of India's exports over the last 20 years. A significant part of the IT services industry excluding hardware and e-commerce, continues to be export driven. The industry is accounted for about, I think, US 194 billion. Under the able leadership of our Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji, in 2021, a number of significant structural reforms have been undertaken to drive innovation, technology adoption, and efficiency in the IT/ITES sector, including Consumer Protection Rules 2020. This would significantly expand access to talent, increase job creation, make India a global hub for digital services, and the sector to the next level of growth and innovation. The structural reforms through industrial policy and increased governance have paved the way for FDI. The ease of doing business has considerably improved. Currently, in India ranked 63rd among 190 countries. Immigration rules is core to the Indian IT industry. The Biden administration have made positive move towards relaxation of immigration rules governing the issues of green cards and H-1B visas. This decision would benefit millions of professionals across the world. Of course, it is quite a boost for the IT professionals from India. Also, manufacturing sector has emerged as one of the high growth sectors in India. Honorable Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi ji, and our Commerce Minister, Shri Piyush Goyal ji, launched the Make in India program to place India on the world map as a manufacturing hub and give global recognition to the Indian economy. Government aims to create 100 million new jobs in this sector by 2022. The manufacturing sector of India has the potential to reach US 1 trillion by 2025. Recognizing its importance, IACC has been organizing events in the manufacturing sector in recent times. Most significant among them is recently held in Pune by Integra 8 India 2028 Industry 4.0. India and USA strategic partnership is the key to strengthen Quad Alliance. The alliance would be crucial to discuss and develop partnership in areas of maritime security, connectivity, including technology issues, supply chain issues, and vaccine production. India and USA jointly have played a significant role in managing COVID-19 crisis. I feel the strong bond between India and USA should give rise to creating a comprehensive free trade agreement which would prove beneficial for both the countries in increasing bilateral trade and investments. With these words, I rest my speech and I look forward to hearing from the thought leaders being present today through virtual platform. Wishing you all of you a fruitful day. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Purna Rao, for your overview. Mr. Manik Dawar, who's the chairman of the Services Export Promotion Council, is not in a position to join due to some medical problem and is undergoing certain tests. So on his behalf and as the founder chair of the Services Export Promotion Council, I welcome the Honorable Minister to the second Indo-US Services Summit. The theme of the summit is leveraging services sector for the post-COVID-19 recovery. We are fully aware of the views of the Honorable Minister, particularly for working towards the Indo-Pacific wide services trade agreement among friendly nations in the region to help liberalize domestic regulations and build capacities in e-commerce, IT-enabled services, and other areas such as artificial intelligence. India and the United States are major players in the regional grouping. The Indo-American Chamber of Commerce and Services Export Promotion Council have joined hands to promote services sectors in India and US. And this is the product of this cooperation which exists between the Indo-American Chamber of Commerce and the Services Export Promotion Council. Sir, we fully endorse your views and strongly feel that it could be a major initiative to be launched in the post-COVID-19 to leverage services sector to bail out the world economy from disruptions caused by the pandemic, and more importantly, to catalyze the brick and mortar economies which are facing the brunt of the onslaught. The focus areas which we are discussing in this summit are information technology, travel, tourism and hospitality, healthcare, energy and media and entertainment. I have also been assigned the pleasant task of introducing the Honorable Minister Shri Piyush Goyal. I find it very difficult, you see. How does one introduce a dignitary, a celebrity, a national leader who is already known throughout the country and around the globe? And secondly, if at all you have to introduce him, how can you, in 2 minutes' time, capture all his accomplishments and achievements? But one can say with daring certainty that Honorable Shri Piyush Goyal has been the most outstanding member of Prime Minister Modi's Council of Ministers since 2014. Today, besides the portfolio of commerce and industry, he also holds the very important portfolio of textiles. His achievements speak for themselves. Despite pandemic, Prime Minister Modi has taken all steps to ensure that development and economic progress is not hampered. And this has been possible due to the vision and steps taken by leaders like Honorable Shri Piyush Goyal. Thanks to the government efforts and dynamism of Honorable Ministers like Shri Piyush Goyal, we are on our way to continued growth, progress, and welfare of the people. Sir, being a lawyer, I'm tempted to take, because that is also your nodal ministry so far as the legal services are concerned. I can assure you, and I make a policy statement on behalf of the Bar Association of India, on behalf of the Society of Indian Law Firms, and generally the legal profession, that we would welcome healthy competition from foreign lawyers coming into India. The Indian legal profession is now in a position to face any challenges, because those are healthy challenges, healthy competition from our foreign counterparts. So there is no impediment, sir, so far as the legal services sector is concerned. We welcome any steps to be initiated by the government under your leadership to open up the legal services sector between India, the United States, and other countries. Because I firmly believe that now Indian legal profession is second to none. We can stand up to the competition, and it will be a healthy competition which will benefit all the participants, whether they are foreign lawyers or they are Indian lawyers. So I assure you, sir, but only thing is that now government and the parliament has to take a step to amend the Advocates Act, because Supreme Court says only Indian citizens can practice law in India. Therefore, if I may say, using certain hackneyed expressions, that the ball is in the court of the parliament and the government now. So we thank you, sir, for participating, for taking out your time to address us as the chief guest for this very, very important and significant event brought together by Indo-American Chamber of Commerce and Services Export Promotion Council, with the support of so many other organizations. And we have very active participation, not just from India, not just from the United States Embassy, which is always very cooperative. There are top speakers from the US Embassy who are participating, but also from the industry. Even Mr. Purna Rao, our national president, he is in the United States at the moment. And we have Dr. Vivek Lal also participating from the US for this summit. So I welcome you, sir, once again. And now I request you to please deliver your inaugural address, Honorable Shri Piyush Goyal ji. Thank you.
Dr. Bashinji, before the minister starts, I want to request you, when the foreign competitor lawyers come, you please don't charge us in dollars, still charge us in rupees only.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lalit Bhasin, for your very warm introductory comments. Deeply appreciate your very bold statement about opening up of the legal services sector, something which has been almost like a holy cow for so many years. And I fully reciprocate what you have said. In fact, we stand to gain more than anybody else, because end of the day, our lawyers are top class and will have a huge opportunity opening up for them across the globe. And of course, we can make sure that we provide adequate safeguards for the lawyers in the lower courts and the larger ecosystem of the legal profession. But we'll certainly engage with you and other luminaries before we take any decision. And I think we have already set up a committee with the Law Ministry to examine this issue in greater detail. Thank you very much, Mr. Purnachandra Rao Surapanani, for joining us at this pretty ungodly hour from the US. I don't know which coast you are in, but grateful for your participation. It only shows the commitment that your team and you as the leaders, the national president of the IACC and IC, have towards the cause of furthering Indo-US bilateral trade and economic ties.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Raman Roy, Dr. Vivek Lal, all the other dignitaries. I saw Mr. Michael Rosenthal on the call also. Wonderful to see a lot of participation of this event. I just saw a message on the chat box that we have 3,487 viewers on this call. Now, frankly, you should have ideally done it at about 5 or 6 in the evening, considering that a lot of people from the US could have also joined. But I'm really impressed that you've managed to get such wide participation. But the subject that you have chosen is truly very interesting. The fact that I'm addressing you for the second time, I recall last year, sometime in September, I had attended the first Indo-US Services Summit that was held by IACC. But your idea today to discuss leveraging services sector to trigger the post-COVID-19 economic recovery is truly a very interesting statement. And no wonder you have such a large participation, because in some sense, the topic itself is a problem solution statement. You stated the problem, the post-COVID-19 economic recovery. You've provided the solution, one of the solutions at least, how we can leverage our services sector. And I'm delighted that the Indo-American Chamber of Commerce, who has always been at the forefront of strengthening the Indo-US relations, has initiated this dialogue on a very critical time and subject. I'm sure a lot of new ideas will be generated out of your deliberations through this engagement, through the Services Summit. The country has huge expectations from all of us, policymakers and important stakeholders, when it comes to rapid economic recovery post-COVID. And clearly, the services sector is one sector which holds a lot of promise going forward. US and India, we are natural partners. It's something that's elementary to anybody. Two vibrant democracies, countries with transparent ecosystem, countries who have very, very much like-minded policy, procedures, plans. Two countries who share deeply the values of equality, liberty, democracy, freedom of speech. And therefore, while on the geopolitical front, on the strategic front, India and the US are working very closely together to provide peace and stability both in the region and across the world. I think the services trade will also play a very, very important role in our ever-growing relations. It has played a pivotal role in the past. It has led to greater people-to-people cooperation and engagement on several fronts. And I do hope today's engagement will also set certain benchmarks for taking this forward in a very, very fast-track mode. Ladies and gentlemen, 2 decades ago, and most of you on the call will recall, the entire world woke up to the new reality of the Y2k bug. I remember there were all kinds of stories floating around at that time, to the extent that there was a theory that the world may come to an end. All processes may collapse. The entire technology ecosystem will come to a standstill. In fact, that's the cusp, the turning point of India's engagement with the world on the IT side. I remember a lot of Indian IT companies at that point of time providing pools of talent to the United States, to companies and corporations all across the world to deal with the Y2k bug. Probably many of our top IT companies made their first few millions at that point of time. But the bigger point is the world recognized India's capabilities during the 99, 2000, 2002 period. And that's when, for the first time, the world saw in India skills, capabilities, deep commitment, confidence, abilities never before experienced by the world. It changed the perception of India from the traditional thinking to a modern state with highly educated, skilled boys and girls, full of ideas, confidence to engage with new technologies, new challenges. And from there, we have seen the rapid growth of the IT sector. In fact, Bengaluru, in some sense, the Silicon Valley of India, Hyderabad, Gurugram, Pune, all these centers really started emerging in the last 2 decades. In fact, it is a coincidence of history that 21 years later, from the time that a virtual virus, the Y2k virus, led to the growth of this industry, also the growth of physical infrastructure related to the IT industry, we are today engaging with each other in a virtual format, addressing a physical virus, the COVID-19. And the physical virus is now leading to an exponential growth of virtual services. From a virtual virus, the rapid ramp up of technology and the physical ecosystem. From a physical virus, the rapid expansion of the virtual ecosystem. That's the quirk of history, quirk of fate. But I was one of those who really enjoyed the virtual world, who enjoyed video conferencing, who realized I don't have to drive down to Taj to attend your program. Then I have all the other social engagements and spend 3-4 hours. Of course, forget the time coming down from Delhi to Mumbai for your program. Against that, in half an hour, we are sorted, done and finished with. And I thought that my efficiency grew exponentially during the last 15 months. But I must share with you that there's nothing to beat the physical connect also. And I'm missing meeting all of you. I'm engaging with you in person. And I do hope the world overcomes this pandemic quickly and we can all start getting back to I think, a hybrid future. That's what I imagine going forward. Something where we're going to work a lot through virtual means, but probably the gong will be hit. The last word will be had in a physical space. And I'm sure Dr. Lalit Bhasin will agree with me. You must be missing the courtrooms, Dr. Bhasin. I'm sure our friend from the US, Purna Chandra, would love to once again have free flow of travel and movement up and down the US. I'm sure Mr. Raman Roy is now really eagerly looking forward that NASSCOM quickly moves forward to its $500 billion target, which they have very kindly accepted. And all of this is going to require government, policymakers, industry associations such as you, thought leaders, business leaders on this call, and all the young friends who are virtually joined on this call to work as one, because together we can move mountains. In fact, I must share with you that with a great deal of pride in all of you, in our countrymen, our business ecosystem, I share with you that throughout the last year and a quarter, the last 15, 16 months now, India has met all its service commitments across the world without failure. Right from the day one of the lockdown in March of 2020, all of you, in conjunction with government, moved very, very rapidly, faster than any other part of the world, I dare say, into working from home, setting up systems, moving hardware, creating backstop arrangements or back offices or the safety net that you have. And largely, we were able to maintain our international obligations to the T without any stoppages or bugs coming in the way. To the extent that our services exports last year were back to 97% level of the previous year. And currently we are looking at a massive growth. I'm told, and you will probably bear me out, Ramanji, I'm told IT companies are hard-pressed to find good talent and are occasionally refusing contracts today for inability to take on more. It's a sweet spot to be in. And I compliment all of you for this wonderful achievement. Of course, hospitality, travel, tourism has taken a hit. We are conscious of that. We are worried about it. But at the same time, when you look at the television views of revenge tourism, and to be honest with you, I'm one of those who's just waiting for things to open up. And I'll be one of those who will be really out there looking for a break. So I'm sure all of those who are in the hospitality and tourism business also have good times to come. Just hang on in there. And anything we as government can do to help you in that, I assure you, you will not find us wanting. Today, India's youth are supercharged with energy. They have talent, they have ideas, they're full of enthusiasm. And I have no doubt that services in which India has very strong competitive advantages, if I may say, powered by our skills, powered by our startups, powered by our software solutions, all of these and many more will help the services sector to rapidly ramp up employment opportunities, business opportunities, income opportunities, work opportunities. And I do wish that all of you very seriously look at aggressive and bold targets going forward in different areas in the services sector. I'm sure most of you must have read yesterday a top Indian investor who announced that he's going to launch an airline. And usually the joke always was that the best way to become a millionaire from a billionaire is to start an airline. But the gentleman is known for his acumen in investing, and he had the courage of conviction to predict that going forward, with a lot of failures in the airline industry, possibly during the COVID period, he identified that there is an opportunity for a low-cost, large airline working to scale to provide services going forward. Now, it's bold entrepreneurship that made America, that was there in India from times immemorial. And I'm sure going forward, our entrepreneurs will be out there in the forefront with new ideas, new projects. Look at the 57 unicorns that India boasts of today. They were all young boys and girls, most of them, brimming with newer and newer ways of finding solutions to the problems of the world, creating organizations through sheer dint of hard work, and are today recognized the world over. Indian services also have the twin power of universal acceptance and universal attraction. The services exports, which are a mere $17 billion 2 decades ago, have leapfrogged to about $205 billion last year. That's a 12x increase. It's 12 times in 20 years. I dare say no other business in the world would have boasted of this kind of a growth. And knowing my friends in the industry, I am confident that our $500 billion mark is not going to be far away. You are going to achieve it, and you will come back to me saying that, Mr. Goyal, you underestimated our capabilities. We are actually shooting for $1 trillion. And ladies and gentlemen, it's possible, doable, and now is the time to plan for that. When we talk of the Indo-US partnership, we have a lot of complementarities, different strengths, different areas in which the US has comparative advantage, areas in which India can provide and support the US future. As we all are aware, the US is a hub of innovation, technology, research, quality education, and so much more. India has skilled and intelligent manpower, both technology and managerial, and we provide it at competitive prices. Uniting these two strengths, bringing together the US and Indian complementarities, frankly, make us an unbeatable combination. And therefore, the Indo-US partnership going forward, at the political level, of course, we will strengthen, but on a business-to-business and people-to-people level, I'm sure organizations like the IACC will be at the forefront of deeper engagement with stakeholders across the United States of America. Ladies and gentlemen, India is now moving from a low-cost service provider to becoming a high-value add partner. We are focusing on end-to-end service delivery. Back offices in India are evolving into brain offices. We are transforming Indian offices and the way of working into centers for design, innovation, modern thinking. In fact, some of the world's largest service providers, technology companies like Microsoft, Google, have chosen to call India a home away from home and have established really large offices in India in recent times. And it has been a win-win for both the United States, their companies, and India and the people of India. We have seen very robust employment generation in this sector. I'm told that only in Q1 2021, we saw 69,132 individuals being employed by our leading IT firms, which is the highest ever in a quarter in the history of India. And clearly in the post-COVID world, restoration of livelihoods will be the first and most important step to recovery. Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi is spearheading the mission of making India Atmanirbhar, self-confident, self-reliant, and engaging with the world from a position of strength, yet opening our doors to larger trade and services on both sides, opening our doors to greater degree of engagement on education, healthcare, travel, tourism, learning from the best in other parts of the world, importing what we need in India, where there are competitive advantages with the other side, and looking to become self-sufficient in areas where India has competitive advantages. But in a free and fair world, in a world with equal opportunities for countries across the globe, companies, businesses across the globe, to work in India, work with India, to invest in India, to attract investments from India. And I'm sure as we move more and more towards large economies of scale, both in manufacturing and services, will improve our competitiveness and also improve our capabilities in partnership with the best in the world. Our services sectors, as I see them going forward, will be far more resilient, reliable, robust, and clearly the way our entire services ecosystem is reimagining the future. I have no doubt that the services sector will be at the forefront of economic recovery in the post-COVID-19 world. The trinity of quality, affordability, and adaptability will power the fourth revolution in the services sector. In India, we are formulating standards also for the services ecosystem so that we can have very high quality of services which we offer to the rest of the world. We are also rapidly progressing to become one of the world's largest digital markets, be it fintech, be it edutech, be it telemedicine, in all these areas, from healthcare to home delivery, from telecom to technology. We are leapfrogging, and I'm sure the Indo-American engagement will see that ripple effect of leapfrogging and growth on both sides in the days and years to come. Clearly, in the future, as Dr. Bhasin rightly said, we have to look at newer areas of Indo-US cooperation, legal profession, chartered accountancy or accounting and management profession, agri-tech, fintech, hospitality, entertainment, and the AV services, audiovisual services hold a lot of promise. Cyber security is going to become more and more crucial. Healthcare, hospitality and tourism will once again get back into its flavor. So we have great things to do in the future. We have great opportunities in the future. And let's work together in that spirit of cooperation with the confidence of two strong economies, friends, partners, brothers, working together. In conclusion, I can only say, thanks to the services sector, today you will find a little bit of India present across every country in the world. If not anything else, you'll certainly find an Indian restaurant or some chartered accountant or some IT professional working in any corner of the world. And I've been to some parts of the world where I'd never imagined finding large Indian contingents. Countries like the Solomon Island. The chef was an Indian who had worked in the Leela, who came to take my Indian vegetarian order. In the country like Vanuatu, there was a reception with over 100 Indian businessmen. I don't know, maybe some of you may not even have heard of Solomon Island in its new name. It used to be originally one of those World War II relics, the Guatemala Bay where the war was held. So really, India has its presence felt across the world. I thank you very much for taking the footprint of India across geographies. And I'm sure, as Prime Minister Modi has rightly said, both India and the US, who are global engines of growth, will gain tremendously with this partnership. With such buoyant energy and positivity in our ties, in our relations, I invite the business communities of both countries to take part in this effort that the IACC has initiated to further give a momentum, a boost to the services sectors as the engine of recovery in the post-COVID-19 world. My best wishes to your services summit. May you all remain safe, healthy. I pray for your good health and safety. Thank you very much. Namaste.
Thank you, Honorable Minister Shri Piyush Goyal ji. If it was a physical meeting, I think your brilliant address definitely merited a standing ovation. But I think your message that together we will move mountains, I think is a very apt message, and we can assure you on our part, we will do and complement and supplement whatever the government's initiatives are. And we, as your message also goes, that new aggressive and bold steps have to be taken. I now request our regional president, the illustrious Mr. Raman Roy, who is considered as the father of the BPO industry in India, I think, to deliver his vote of thanks for the Honorable Minister.
Minister Goyal, I'm speechless, yet again after you speak, sir, because you again have put in perspective what the possibilities are. When we sat together to make the topic of leveraging the services sector to trigger the recovery, you're bringing out the aspect. Yes, we've got Indians in all parts of the world. We will now bring services to the rest of the world, some delivered from India, some delivered by Indians. And that is the possibility. The 97% pre-COVID, we will endeavor to take it to 197% to where it can be, what the possibilities are. True to your setting target, sir, I saw you slip in $1 trillion target as against the 500 billion that you'd set out for us. You will not find, as IACC, in addition to IT, we represent a lot of other industries that participate, whether it is tourism, whether it is health. Your revenge tourism example, to create that possibility for that to happen out of India is so fascinating, sir. The aspect, before I get on to the task of doing the vote of thanks, sir, you're bringing out the virtual virus of Y2k, and now virtually handling an actual virus is something I am going to use and reuse in multiple. That was the birth of IT industry, sir. You are so right. Because of the possibility of the Y2k virtual virus, as you called it, and we are way past into becoming a partner. We are no more an order taker. And yes, I have, a lot of people from the US, and whenever I've been having discussions with them, I bring out that we started our life as an order taker in Y2k. We now hold a seat on the table as a partner to the US. And in your closing remarks of your address, you brought out that aspect of what it can mean to be a partner of the two strongest economies, which our Honorable Prime Minister has also spoken about. So before I get on to the task of formally thanking you, sir, let me flag some key important developments to build on what you've said about the Indo-US relations. The foremost is the visit by the US Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, to New Delhi, and the discussions he had with our Honorable Prime Minister and our External Affairs Minister. In the joint press conference with our Indian External Affairs Minister Jaishankar, I quote what he said: "There are few relationships in the world that are more vital than the one between US and India." That is the lauded statement from the US Secretary of State, friends, which reflects, among other things, the growing partnership between the two countries that Minister Goyal also referred to and built upon. And this is in the last few days of what I want to bring out. The growth of the US GDP, the broadest measure of economic output, grew at 1.6% for the second quarter of the year, up from 1.5% in the first 3 months of the year. The growth, which is fueled by the strong consumer spending and robust business investment, brought output adjusted for inflation back to the pre-pandemic levels. We are on a path to recovery. Sir, that is welcome news amidst all concerns and challenges that we faced in the last year and a half to 2 years. The US economic growth is a bellwether for the rest of the world. So let me come to the task that I'm assigned of thanking you. We all heard the Honorable Minister and the targets he set out. Sir, thank you again for your views on how services sector can play an important role in not only play a role, but lead the post-COVID-19 scenario. It is always a pleasure to hear you, sir. It is always a motivating thing to say that we can set up more challenges. Sir, we understand there is a heavy schedule before you today. We in IACC always respectfully recall your association with our organization and your matured advice and guidance. Yes, about a year ago, you gave us an input and you spared time for us today. We know you have a very clear view on how to take commercial relations between our two countries to the next level. And on behalf of IACC, and our national president is here, we pledge our full support in realizing your mission, sir. Let me take this opportunity to thank everyone present online for this webinar. Over 3,500 now, I see, from various parts of India and the US. We hope to have their continued support. I will be failing in my duty if I overlook thanking the summit chair, Dr. Lalit Bhasin, who's always been a source of inspiration to us to drive the various activities. And personally, he has guided me a lot in whatever I've been able to accomplish. Let me also thank our national president, Mr. Purnchandra Rao, logging in from the US in the middle of the night, and Mr. Manik Dawar, who for some personal reasons could not log in, but is Services Export Promotion Council is co-sponsoring this event. Again, sir, thank you very much. We hope to live up to the guidance that you've given and make India shine. Thank you, sir.
It's more than 5,000 now.
More than 5,000 people now. Wow. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Raman Roy.
All the best.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And now
Thank you,
I have great pleasure requesting Mr. Rohit Kochhar, Regional Vice President, IACC NIC, founding member and managing partner, Kochhar and Company, one of the most distinguished and illustrious law firms, not only in India, but having its offices outside India like Singapore and US. Mr. Kochhar is a very dynamic young leader of the Indian legal profession. And I have great pleasure in requesting Mr. Rohit Kochhar to deliver his address. Over to you, Mr. Rohit Kochhar.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bhasin, especially for calling me young, because at 58, I don't feel so young anymore as I used to maybe 10 years ago. At the cost of being repetitious in terms of what my good friend Mr. Raman Roy spoke, I did want to say that I too was awestruck. Raman used the word speechless. I was awestruck hearing Honorable Minister, Mr. Piyush Goyal today, and really, really inspired hearing his address. I don't know if he's still with us, but I did want to say that, Honorable Minister, sir, I very much look forward to meeting with you in person when circumstances so permit. Friends, India and the United States are both fascinating countries in so many ways. One is the world's largest democracy, and the other, the richest and the oldest. Our two great nations really have a symbiotic business relationship. And I heard Mr. Goyal talk about how complementary our relationship is. Some very interesting statistics are testimony to this. 28% of the world's GDP is collectively contributed by India and the US. During 2020, $54 billion was the bilateral trade of services between India and the US. Through the pandemic, the United States continue to remain India's largest trading partner. How relevant is the services sector for economic recovery? I think the preceding speakers have all touched upon this, but just some facts. The Indian services sector accounts for about 55% of the country's total GDP. Globally, services represent 2/3 of economic output and more than half of the world's jobs. The significance of the services sector, therefore, cannot be overemphasized, and the way this sector has braved the COVID storm is really commendable. Let's move on to leveraging technology in the services sector. Friends, like they say, every dark cloud has a silver lining. While COVID-19 led to one of the worst tragedies mankind has ever witnessed, it's fascinating how resilient the human race has been in meeting this catastrophe. The way the services sector has leveraged technology to reinvent itself is a shining example of our creativity and innovation. Two interesting illustrations come to mind straight away. Take healthcare services. Who could have imagined that a day would come when sitting in your living room, you would have the luxury of the best doctors from hospitals across the country dropping in at your doorstep, albeit virtually on your handphone. We lawyers are never a step behind, and the legal services industry has continued to thrive and flourish, the pandemic notwithstanding. Today, Indian lawyers sitting across the globe in cities from Dubai to New York to London are seamlessly representing clients in this new magical virtual world, is what I call it. Both in courtrooms and boardrooms, erasing boundaries and barriers like never before. Technology has reincarnated many facets of the services sector and undoubtedly increased productivity and efficiency. It would be fair to say that all stakeholders have benefited from this pandemic-driven revolution. And needless to say, much of this new world order is here to stay. As a concluding note, I would like to say that while the pandemic has struck crushing blows to industries and economies across the globe, time has come for us to create, ideate, and innovate and write our own script for the path of recovery. The services sector will undoubtedly be the torch bearer for this new journey of hope and resurgence. Friends, I quote the great Chinese philosopher Confucius, who said, "Our greatest glory lies not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall." Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Kochard. I think your message that we should write our own script, I think it's a very, very timely and very appropriate, very apt message that yes, so far services sectors are concerned, we can and we are in a position to write our own script. I'm sorry there was not much time, but thanks for your brilliant address. And now I have great pleasure in requesting Dr. Vivek Lal. He does not need any introduction. He has been a very familiar figure, you see, in India and now in the United States. Recently, I saw a photograph of Mr. Dr. Vivek Lal with President Biden. I think he's a person who is known throughout. He worked with the Reliance as head of there, and then with one of the top manufacturers, air manufacturers, and now he's chief executive of General Atomics Global Corporation, USA. And he's participating from US at a very odd hour, about I think 1 a.m. or so. So over to you, Dr. Vivek Lal. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bhasin. Let me take this opportunity to thank IACC, especially you, Dr. Bhasin, Mr. Raman Roy, and Mr. Rohit Kochar for inviting me to be a speaker at this very important services summit. I'm delighted that I have had the privilege here today to share my views in the presence of such a large August gathering of folks listening in. Let me begin with a personal note. To be back with IACC is like a homecoming for me. I've been closely associated with IACC for over a decade, and myself being one of the past presidents of its Northern India Regional Council. Between then and now, a lot of significant changes have taken place in the global landscape. Coming specifically to IACC's agenda, since that time, we have been organizing regularly the US-India Economic Summit. And so many editions have come and gone, and there's been a great number of progress in many sectors. Very thoughtfully, I must say, you have added the Indo-US Services Summit. Together, these platforms can cover the entire gamut of our bilateral engagements, which have been upward moving, dynamic, forward-looking, and more importantly, result-oriented. The outstanding comments by our Honorable Minister for Commerce and Industry, Shri Piyush Goyal, gives a lot of inspiration, as it was a broad brush and encompassed many aspects of the services sector. COVID-19 pandemic undoubtedly has cast its dark shadows all around. Yet the crisis has brought together nations, leaders, and the people together to think and act to arrive at universal solutions to the pandemic. That consensus has manifested in many ways. Important among them is pushing global healthcare to the central stage, as evidenced in the various policies around the world, where every developed country has been asked to help developing and least developed countries, not only in providing vaccines, but also mobilizing adequate resources to mitigate the financial hardships of the poorer countries. This is only the beginning. I can visualize many more tie-ups coming in using telemedicine, virology research, developing new molecules and drugs that can effectively prevent another viral or fungal or bacterial spread. I can distinctly see the scope of Indian and US corporations coming together for collaborations in many sectors as a result. The pandemic has demonstrated how important digital platforms are for ushering in a contactless world. Hopefully, the adverse impact of the COVID-19 may ebb out in the coming months if one goes by the drop in positive cases and efforts being made to ward off the third wave across the world. Yet I believe the legacy of COVID-19, the contactless transactions, including e-retail and app-based financial transactions, will continue, since that has taught the common folks how efficient and safe and convenient are net transactions. The synergy between the US and India in IT and IT-enabled services are well known. Our two countries can get together in evolving more apps and devices that can be relevant not only to our two countries, but for third countries by collaborating in path-breaking areas like artificial intelligence, IoTs, etc. Of course, as was mentioned by the Honorable Minister as well, travel, tourism, and hospitality have been the hardest hit domains in services trade due to the distortions created by the pandemic. I have a feeling that these sectors may pick up in the near future, at least in the developed countries and in countries where the impact of the pandemic has come down. That will trigger a lot of pent-up demand. One way in which India can benefit from these developments is becoming an active player in all aspects of these sectors. Traditionally, this has been India's strong point, and a lot of this work can be done online. I understand the summit has sessions on media and entertainment and clean energy, which I believe have not been affected much by the impact of the pandemic. Using digital technologies and state-of-the-art technologies like over-the-top media services, both countries can up their bilateral sharing of content and various material. I also can foresee much more collaboration between both our countries in co-development and research and technologies of areas like clean energy, including advanced nuclear technologies, fields such as storage, battery storage, etc. With these words, I once again thank you all for giving me an opportunity to share my views with you, and again, deeply appreciate the opportunity to speak to all of you. Thank you.
Dr. Bhasin, Mr. Vivek Lal's address has concluded.
Yeah. I was trying to digest, you see, such insightful comments from Dr. Vivek Lal, and I recall his past participation as the regional president of the NIC, Indo-American Chamber of Commerce. I requested him specially that he should give the benefit of his address in this summit as well as in our forthcoming summit, economic summit, and he very graciously agreed to do so. Thank you, Dr. Vivek Lal. Friends, it is my great pleasure and privilege now to have our guest of honor, Mr. Michael Rosenthal, Director, North India in the United States Embassy here. Mr. Michael Rosenthal has been a great friend of IACC and has been very actively participating in our events in the past and will continue, hopefully, to do so in future also. So we are looking forward to the address by Mr. Michael Rosenthal, our guest of honor. Over to you, Mr. Rosenthal.
Thank you, Dhanyavad. Thank you for that kind introduction. On behalf of the U.S. mission to India, covering all of the country, and my North India office, which leads engagement with 6 states and 2 territories, I'm honored to be part of the inaugural session of this summit with distinguished speakers such as Honorable Minister Piyush Goyal, Dr. Sinha, Dr. Lal, and Mr. Kochar. I look forward to learning from them and taking the ideas of the summit forward. I'd also like to congratulate the Indo-American Chamber of Commerce leadership, including Mr. Purnachandra Rao, Dr. Lalit Bhasin, Mr. Raman Roy, Mr. Kapil Kal, and Ms. Kashish Tyagi for organizing this outstanding summit. We appreciate the continuing partnership the Embassy and North India office has enjoyed with IACC over the years as we've worked hand in hand to support US and Indian companies and foster stronger ties between our countries. If I could just request at the outset that my remarks be considered off the record and not for attribution. And if you don't mind, as usual, I'd like to say a few words in Hindi. Aaj aapke saath hone ki nimantran ke liye dhanyavad. ये मेरे लिए एक सम्मानजनक बात है। इस शिखर सम्मेलन का विषय सेवा क्षेत्र महत्वपूर्ण है। सेवा क्षेत्र भारत और अमेरिका के बीच व्यापार और निवेश में एक महत्वपूर्ण भूमिका निभाते हैं। वे अब अधिक महत्वपूर्ण होंगी क्योंकि हमारे देशों के बीच व्यापार बढ़ रहे हैं। भारत और अमेरिका के लोगों के बीच घनिष्ठ मित्रता है जो इन आर्थिक संबंधों का समर्थन करता है। मैं अब अंग्रेजी में बोलूंगा क्योंकि ये global business की भाषा है. Thank you. The presence of almost every major US company in India, as well as major Indian investment in the United States, has become one of the pillars supporting the close bilateral ties between our countries. I was pleased to join the visit of our Secretary of State, Mr. Blinken, this week in his meetings with Dr. Jaishankar, the External Affairs Minister, and other parts of the Indian delegation. And the warm ties with business playing a central role was clearly visible and felt by all during those meetings. U.S. companies have also been involved in contributing to India's economic growth and development, from bringing critical technologies, know-how, and experience to engage in an enormous range of corporate social responsibility programs in the communities where they operate. These professional and personal ties were evident as the United States came to assist India during its time of need in the COVID-19 pandemic, just as India had done for us and many other countries around the world in our times of need. As the second wave of the COVID-19 pandemic reached India, the U.S. private sector partnered with the U.S. government to respond with focus and speed to assist the people of India. We're deeply grateful for the compassion and support of the U.S. business community, as well as from the diaspora, non-government organizations, and committed individuals. Together with the U.S. government, which has allocated more than $226 million in COVID-19 relief to India, the U.S. private sector has arranged over $400 million in donations, bringing our joint total to over $626 million in support. Returning to today's topic and why it's even more important in the COVID-19 context, that is the services sector and its role in economic growth. Most experts believe that the services sector is a key driver of such growth. The services sector covers multiple activities, including trade, transportation, hotels and restaurants, storage, communication, transportation, financing, insurance, real estate, businesses, community, social and personal services, and construction. It's the largest sector of the global economy and is especially important in developed economies. Technology, especially information technology, is certainly shaping the way businesses in the services sector operate. The services sector in India is the dominant sector, drawing on the talents of the Indian people and the strength of India's institutions. In my experience, the government of India has recognized and supported the services sector, introducing initiatives in a wide variety of sectors to promote its growth. In the United States, and in the experience of U.S. investors in other countries, a healthy growth of services is a key facilitator of economic development. The presence of international services players in a country's economy in particular helps ensure smoother flows of international trade and investment. Today, I understand the contribution of the services sector to India's GDP is over 60%, employing about 25% of the Indian labor force and accounting for almost 4/5 of total FDI flows. In comparison, the services sector in the United States constitutes more than 77% of the US GDP, accounting for nearly $15 trillion in revenue last year and employing over 78% of the American labor force. A developed services sector also helps to ensure the development trajectory of democracies such as the United States and India, supporting inclusive development and basic dignities for all. The strength of the services sector sets us apart from autocracies and provides a model for the world. I believe India is poised to take advantage of the tremendous opportunities in the services sector today. It has the potential to unlock multi-trillion-dollar growth, which can create symbiotic development in our shared Indo-Pacific region. While nearly with such a large percentage of the US labor force already employed in the services sector, potential growth in the Indian services sector will bring many benefits to all. Trade and investment, in our experience, generally flows where markets are open, where regulation is light and predictable, and where infrastructure and human capital are strong. But all of that requires feedback and adjustment to efficiently use resources, including services. At the embassy, we like to say that when it comes to business, the United States is India's best friend and most important partner. It is certainly backed up by the trade numbers, as the United States is India's top trading partner in goods and services, and India is the United States' 9th largest trading partner. This potential for growth in services is especially important as we all work together to recover economically from the COVID-19 pandemic. While the pandemic has presented many challenges to the global economy in the past year, we are hopeful the signs are turning positive. The crisis has also presented India with a historic opportunity to integrate into Indo-Pacific supply chains as investors and manufacturers increasingly seek alternatives to China and other countries in the wake of rising costs and instability revealed by the pandemic. As India saw in the 1990s and Southeast Asia has seen as well, the more open an economy is, the faster it grows. We know that open trade facilitates the exchange of know-how and experience. So we've been encouraged that Prime Minister Modi prioritized joining global and regional supply chains in his August 2020 Independence Day speech, and the number of important economic reforms have been announced to improve India's business investment climate. However, work remains to be done, including lowering trade barriers and tariffs, reforming laws, and offering regulatory transparency and certainty. We look forward to working together to demonstrate how free and open trade and clear and transparent regulations enable growth and dignity, particularly in democracies. In this vein of collaboration between the governments and the private sector, we're pleased to announce that the United States will join with India to co-host the 4th annual Indo-Pacific Business Forum this October. This business forum is a key event that advances our shared vision of a free and open Indo-Pacific and brings together senior government and business leaders from across the Indo-Pacific to discuss opportunities and identify challenges to overcome. Co-hosting the event in India demonstrates the importance of private sector engagement to advance sustainable, transparent economic growth for India and is a demonstration of the U.S. commitment to partnership with India. This year, the forum will focus on economic recovery and resilience, as well as climate action and digital innovation. So to close, we look forward to many important initiatives and actions in the coming months, including new dialogues, programs, and visits. India is at the center of all the United States' major economic initiatives in the world, from tackling the climate crisis to vaccinating the world against COVID-19. We look to all of you for your ideas on how we can further strengthen our partnership, expand our trade, and promote our shared goal of ensuring a free and open Indo-Pacific region. Collaboration with the private sector is key to this success, as we touch on virtually every aspect of human endeavor, from space to science to health. While we may not be able to overcome every issue, through our cooperation, I feel we can certainly make important progress. Looking back over the past 15 years, I'm encouraged by how far we've come already, but I also am optimistic about how far we can come in the months and years that lay ahead of us. I know that each of you has played an important role already in strengthening our commercial and people-to-people ties, and I'm very grateful for that. Thank you again for the invitation to join. I look forward to the rest of the summit. Thank you. Dhanyavad.
Thank you, Mr. Rosenthal. I think your message that there may be issues on which we may not think alike, but then the efforts have to continue to reconcile whatever differences are there. I don't think there are many. So we are indeed very grateful to you for your assurance that we will continue to get the cooperation and guidance of the United States Embassy here and the United States government in our efforts to bring the economies of the two countries again, you see, together. So thanks a lot. As the guest of honor, we have been privileged to have your presence. And now I request our National Executive Vice President, Mr. Kapil Kaul, he's participating from Kolkata, to give his closing address to this inaugural session. So over to you, Mr. Kapil Kaul.
Thank you, Doctor. Good morning to everybody, and thank you for giving me this onerous and welcome and honorable task of closing the session. I begin with thanking the North India Council of IACC, led by Dr. Vaseem and Mr. Raman Roy and their entire secretariat for initiating and hosting a fantastic seminar, and to having a very good inaugural session. No doubt it is a very pertinent and relevant topic, not just for the times, but for a long, long time. And I'll get into that a little later. Thanks to President Purna for making it possible to attend and to begin the session and to inaugurate it today. Thank you. And you're emphasizing the strong bonds that exist between India and the US. And this is what will overcome our trials and tribulations of the pandemic, not just in India, but also in the US in a collaborative fashion. Dr. Vaseem, you brought up a very good point of rule of law. And it was a very welcome thing that you emphasized law, because nothing happens without law being in place. And India and the US are very, very strong when it comes to the rule of law, other than many other countries. And I think this is one of the key note points which a country-to-country relationship exists, rule of law. And it was very good of you to mention of opening up of the sector to foreign law firms and increasing the competitiveness and thereby the efficiency of the legal fraternity also in India, which in any case is very efficient and very good, given the fact that we have very difficult circumstances in India when it comes to this fraternity. Mr. Raman Roy, father of the BPO, we've heard a lot about you, your your legend and history precedes you. And thank you very much for putting your back towards this, putting up, with this seminar and giving it a go. It's fantastic. And it's a very good thing to do, go ahead with the seminar. Mr. Rohit Kochar, I would use one word which you mentioned, symbiotic. Definitely, Indo-US relations are very, very symbiotic. And I'll go a little later on it when I address it about what the minister had said. Dr. Vivek Lal, a homecoming, definitely sitting in the US and getting back into North India issues is a homecoming, and to revive the chamber and the Indo-US relations to bring them forward. Thank you very much for being here with us today, sir. I now get to Mr. Michael Rosenthal. Sir, thank you very much for attending, and धन्यवाद. और आपने जो मेंशन किया कि महत्वपूर्ण भूमिका है, तो बिल्कुल अमेरिका और हिंदुस्तान की महत्वपूर्ण भूमिका है, और इसके लिए मैं आपको और एक और बोलता हूँ. When the minister had said very much Y2k, it's a very poignant statement, and I'm very happy that he mentioned Y2k, because that's when the destinies of our two countries began to come closer and closer. And it's known that actually we progressed very fast because the government did not know what to do with this industry, and it flourished. Okay, and it's very good. And I would like to emphasize that it's not just Y2K, it's K stands for knowledge, right? K stands for knowledge. And therefore, we came into the knowledge era. And we are now looking at something which is also integral to knowledge, and which is memory, which the Honorable Minister displayed remarkably, that his memory was very sharp and very good in going back in time and connecting the dots between when our relations with America really started. And it started with a people-to-people contact. And it was that which drove our relationships together. And it was the building of IIT and IIMs that has given us this knowledge and this contact between the two countries on a people-to-people and business-to-business basis. We have to now make it into a virtuous cycle which has gone viral. And we should make it viral. And also, we have to emphasize that music, the 3 M's, music, movies, and memories, is what will drive us forward. And we have to be conscious about the environment. And in the artificial intelligence world which is coming, we have to be including environment within the services also. Thank you very much for all attending this. And thanks to the Honorable Minister for taking time to attend this seminar and inaugurating it. Thank you.